Hi, this is Rostyk Wynnyckyj from Lava Computers, and this is True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinnemer. On this episode, I chat with Rostyk Wynnyckyj from Lava Computer about battery care advice for your laptops, tablets, cell phones, and more. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Rostyk Wynnyckyj is an executive from Lava Computer based in Toronto, Ontario. Established in 1984, Lava Computer first started in the computer industry by offering custom serial and parallel port products. Lava was known for launching the industry's first PCI-based enhanced parallel port. Today, Lava products are widely used in digital tablet kiosk commercial applications in a wide variety of industries such as retail, hospitality, transportation, healthcare, telecom, government, and entertainment. Lithium-IQ is one of Lava's latest products. Designed for USB-C laptops, Lithium-IQ is a dongle that's engineered to combat premature battery degradation and extend your laptop battery's total lifespan. Lithium-IQ acts as a shield, employing predictive battery modulation technology to protect your battery from charging-related degradation. With the Lithium-IQ, users can work, play, and create without the fear of destroying, degrading, or diminishing battery life. Whether you're a creative professional, on the go, or a student with demanding study sessions, this dongle helps ensure your battery can keep up with you exactly when you need it most. Plus, its sleek and compact design makes it effortlessly portable, seamlessly fitting into your busy lifestyle. So, without further ado, here's my chat with Rostyk Wynnyckyj from Lava Computer about battery care advice for your laptops, tablets, cell phones, and more. So, Rostyk Wynnyckyj, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. For folks who may not know, we met up very briefly in Las Vegas at CES. You had a wonderful booth there, and we chatted for a little bit, but I wanted to spend a little more time in knowing a little bit more about your company and the products that you have, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Cool. And I know I've asked you this question before, but what was the first comic book that you read?
It was probably Garfield. I mean, that was when I was quite the young lad, as they say, but I for some reason recall it being Garfield.
All right. Yeah. Lots of lasagna there. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your company and what you do. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, so Lava Computers has been around for 40 plus years now. We actually just celebrated our 40th birthday in December. And we have since day one been a Canadian-based electronics manufacturer. And what I mean by that is that we've always designed and manufactured everything here in Toronto, in Canada. We're probably one of the few remaining manufacturers left that specializes in that kind of field. Obviously, over 40 years, been doing different things as the world has evolved. But most recently, we've been in kind of two fields. One is what we call simulcharge, which is doing power and data at the same time to tablets. And actually, a lot of Canadians will know or have seen some of our stuff, not knowing that it's our stuff. And the other side of the world is what we now call Lithium-IQ, which relates to battery protection, both for laptops, tablets, and smartphones. And that's actually what, John, you and I spoke about when we kind of had our 5-minute, 10-minute chat at CES.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great booth you had there and lots of people coming by. I just wanted to jump back to the 40 years, though. I'm sure 40 years, like in the IT or computer world, that is like forever. Like there's a big span of technology that's come in the last 40 years. I'm sure your company has seen a fair amount of it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And it's kind of interesting to talk to some of the people who either started off at Lava in the early days or obviously have continued on through the kind of the evolutions of Lava. It is pretty amazing kind of where we were in certain pivotal moments. Roman, who actually happens to be my father. It is a family business. That's something I kind of left out. Some of the stories he has back in the 80s when certain people that today obviously are super well known, like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all those, when they were still living on each other's couches or barely known companies. That's kind of when we were around. So it's interesting to compare just how much the world has shifted and how much these people have grown and these companies have grown.
Yeah, it's just amazing, just amazing. Now, you mentioned that we were chatting at your booth in Las Vegas about Lithium-IQ. Now, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that. I know we had just a brief conversation in Las Vegas, but can you explain what it is and how it helps people?
So the way I actually explain it to everybody is kind of with an example. It's an example that pretty much everybody feels and knows and understands. And the way it is when you get a new phone or laptop or tablet, it works really well on a single charge. The battery lasts all day, you're a happy camper. But then 2 years goes by and that battery on that device just starts getting worse and worse and worse and worse. We can prevent that from happening, is basically the sales pitch. What I mean by that is that we have created a piece of hardware. It is hardware only. It's about the size of a hockey puck. Being Canadian, a lot of people equate that when they see the device. And what it does is it sits between your charger and your, as I said, laptop, smartphone, or tablet. So anything that's really USB-C powered. And what it does is it actually exercises the battery. That's the best way of kind of thinking about it. What it's doing is it's making sure that your charging habits are as close to the optimum of what the battery would like to see, what the chemistry on the battery would like to see. And that way you're able to get really the maximum potential out of that battery so that you could really hit 3 to 4 years without seeing that massive decline that we've all gotten used to when using our consumer electronics and our batteries. And that's really the goal of the system.
Wow, that is amazing because I'll tell you, like a lot of people have gotten through this experience, and I'm sure you've seen already where it's assumed that the battery is degrading over time as a, in quotes, enforcement that you'll upgrade to the next device. I'm sure you've heard of that. And the other thing I'm hearing also is that people want to hang on to their technology longer, that there isn't anything wrong with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So would that Lithium-IQ device help a wee bit to alleviate the concerns of battery longevity and device replacement?
Absolutely. And what I always stress, and this comes up in questions that we have from customers is, what if I already have a device that's been around for 2 years? Obviously, damage has been done. The battery is nowhere near where it's supposed to be. Well, what about then? And the answer is it's still going to help. Exercising at some point in your life is still better than no exercise, is kind of to continue that analogy. So it absolutely will help with alleviate some of those concerns. Obviously, it isn't a miracle device that will fix everything automatically, but as long as you use that plugged in between your charger and you just do your thing and you don't change the way you use your device, the way you charge on a regular, you should see a kind of a change or impact from us, from that Lithium-IQ system as the device ages, as you keep using that battery.
Ah, that's amazing. Okay. So for the focus of this, we have people who are listening who are either comic book creators or comic book readers on a variety of different devices, whether it be tablets or computers, laptops, the whole shebang. And sometimes, you're even doing work on your phone, right?
Mhm.
So what's the real benefit of having that in that environment of a creator or a reader type environment of comic books?
Well, there's kind of a multi-factor model that you can look at, right? There is just the question of expense, right? Let's face it, if you are in the graphics industry, if this is something that you do as part of your profession, often not, you will be buying devices that are tailored towards that, will have a better graphics card, will obviously be more expensive because they are tailored to what you need them to do, which means that it is often financially a positive thing for you when you can make it last an extra year. Because has really the software changed all that much over 4 years? Probably not, or rather, you can still support it and it's okay. So if you can go from that 2 year or 3 year mark to a 4 year, maybe even 5 year mark, obviously there are some cost savings involved. And I do stress that the Lithium-IQ actually is supposed to last more than just one device lifecycle. So you're kind of compounding over those years. That's just the pure financials. Where you've got these other aspects of it is it removes one more level of anxiety. And there's actually now a term for it called charge anxiety. It's something that we've discovered. And that is that feeling that a lot of people may know when they walk into a meeting and the first thing that they're looking at if they're supposed to present something is, where can I plug my laptop? Where can I plug in my tablet so that during this presentation it doesn't die? It removes one extra level of anxiety. It removes one extra thing you have to carry with you because you're not sure whether your device is now going to last from, say, the morning when you are working on it, drawing, editing, whatever that may be, and then actually presenting it or running a presentation. You don't have to carry that charger with you now. So there's that convenience aspect that comes around as well. So between those two things, that's where you'll see the most benefits. And that's not just for creators, right? It'll be really for anybody. But again, the idea that we looked at and the way we designed kind of the operation of the system, the Lithium IQ, was that you don't need to be a tech focused person. You don't need to be an engineer to know and understand how to use it and to reap the benefits. Because often and not, and something that I complain about personally, and I've heard a lot of people complain about, is you will have people walk up, companies walk up with solutions that are amazing, but they require you to change so much of what you do, whether it's your personal habits, whether it's what you have, what you've bought, where now all of a sudden that little device isn't really that much of a solution and maybe actually kind of a hindrance. So our idea was always to give users the ability of all this tech forward thinking knowledge, this capability, without themselves having to read up on a manual and understand all these weird variations about batteries. That's our job.
Well, that's good to hear. That's for good. Okay, so here's some personal questions now. So I'm like, as you said, I've got battery anxiety.
Mhm.
And why is it that I shouldn't charge my batteries to 100%? There's got to be a technical reason for it, right?
Very good question. And it actually leads to a part that you mentioned earlier on, which is, the common belief that a lot of the devices are built in such a way that by year three, the battery's toast and it's kind of, the planned obsolescence. We've heard those terms being used before. So the way it works is this, and the analogy I give is either one of exercise or of food. Sometimes the analogy just helps kind of quantify things. So with food, the example is, we all understand that there is a good amount of calories that you should be eating every day. It's that healthy range that keeps your body going, but doesn't overstuff it with a whole bunch of bad stuff. Eating too much is bad for you because now you're gaining extra weight, which is basically what is overcharging. Overcharging is usually charging a device past that 80% mark, where now you're starting to push more energy into it than, not that it can't take it, but it's not really something it wants. So obviously over time, you're causing these micro damages, you're gaining that weight, if you want to use that food analogy. The converse is also true, which is if you don't eat enough, if you don't give the battery enough charge, it starts having its own problems because it doesn't have enough charge. It's now kind of starving itself, similar to what the human body would be. So the whole goal of what we would like to do with batteries, at least lithium ion batteries, and that is an important distinction, is that we should be talking about lithium ion batteries only, is they like living in a range of about 40 to 70%. That's the ideal. Now, you'll often hear people talk about, well, don't go below 20, don't go above 80. Those are kind of your ideal with some compromises, looking at the reality of what our day-to-day lives are like. And that's because the chemistry between 40 and 70% is what's called its quiescent point or its neutral point. It's really not being pushed one way or the other, and that's where it likes to sit. The example I give to everybody is actually, if you ever buy a new device, there's this weird trick to take a look at. A lot of people will forget simply because as you get a new device, you're excited and turn it on and don't realize it. But when you get that new device and the first time you turn it on, take a look at the battery percentage it has. Often than not, you will see that it's between 40 and 70%. And the reason for that is because, and this is something that one of the major manufacturers explained to us, is when they manufacture a new tablet or phone, they must guarantee that it will still turn on about a year to a year and a half later. Because by the time it leaves the factory, by the time it goes through distribution, ends up at your Best Buy or whatever other store, Amazon, and then arrives at the customer location, there could have been an elapsed time of 12 to 18 months. And that's a worst case scenario. And what they've discovered is that if you're sitting between 40 and 70% state of charge, so charge, you can actually make it that far because the battery is sitting there and all healthy and happy and isn't going to discharge as fast. And that's always because of the chemistry. So that's why what we're kind of trying to do is sit between that 40 and 70 to optimize for what the battery likes to see.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for that explanation. Here's something you've probably heard, and I'll tell you right now, I'm sure that many people who are listening right now have their laptops and tablets plugged in. I
Mhm.
leave mine plugged in all the time. Is that a good thing?
It is absolutely not.
Oh,
But again,
gosh.
it
Okay.
is it is a thing that we all do. I
Yeah.
am just as guilty of that. I mean, that's why we kind of did the push for this device for the Lithium IQ. It's not. It's Not good for a number of reasons. Number one is what we talked about, the chemistry, right? You're above that 70% threshold, worse 80%, and you're still feeding that battery. And what that means is that battery is basically always full, and it really doesn't want to be that full. So that's number one. Number two, what is happening is on what's called the charge controller. The charge controller is the thing that makes sure that the battery is getting enough power and that the computer or the phone is getting enough power as well to run. Because it's a consumer device, a lot of these charge controllers are calibrated in such a way to always err on the side of caution and therefore charge the battery up to 100% and keep it 100%. That means when you're using your device and keeping it plugged in, that charge controller is always going to give a little bit too much energy to that battery. Nothing dangerous, but over time, over 2, 3 years, that's what's causing some of that damage. Number two, when you are charging a battery, and we've all seen this, when you put your phone down to charge, it'll get warm or maybe
Mm-hmm.
even hot.
Yep.
That's something we all know. Well, what's happening is that there's a little bit of inefficiency that occurs when you're charging your device. It's inescapable. That inefficiency presents itself as heat. Well, that heat is being generated millimeters away from where the battery sits, which means that that battery is being heated more than normal. We're actually running a test for one customer right now, unrelated to this product, where one of the things that we're seeing is actually the battery readout. In other words, the temperature readout of the battery. And at regular charging, that battery is sitting about 31 degrees Celsius, which is quite elevated, actually. Now, this is normal. This is to be expected when you're charging. But obviously, if you're doing this every day and you're continuously charging and you're using your device, that heat over time is damaging the battery because we all know that heating a battery is very bad for it. So what's happening when you're sitting at 100% and working away is you're doing a death by 1,000 cuts. Not only are you sitting at 100%, you're also putting in a lot of heat.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you for explaining that. That's for sure. Okay, well, good to know. You mentioned another product earlier on called Simulcharge Home. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and why it's beneficial.
Yes, absolutely. So simulcharge is the blanket term that we use for doing power and data at the same time to a phone or a tablet. The example I always give for Canadian users or people living in Canada is Canadian Tire. We are actually, if you've ever walked in between the years of 2014 and about 2020, late 2019, and tried to pick out windshield wipers or spark plugs, you actually probably used one of our devices and simulcharge because that little tablet that you were using to say what car it was, etc., was running one of our boards running simulcharge. So it was a tablet being powered and actually its battery being protected as well. And data was going back and forth to show all this information. Now, why that's relevant about the home is obviously a lot of creators, a lot of people in the graphics space are going to be using tablets. But often or not, what is good about a tablet can also be its drawback in certain situations. The best example being you're using that tablet to draw something, but then later on you want to write out an email. And obviously typing away on that keyboard on the screen is not really efficient. It's not really that great. What we're allowing through some of these simulcharge home adapters to do is be able to actually still charge your tablet while connecting up what's called peripherals. So keyboards, mice, a whole myriad of other things, depending on what you're trying to do, so that now you kind of get the best of both worlds and expand what your tablet or phone can achieve.
Okay, and just for clarification, is it USB-C only, or are there other USB-C types on this device?
So USB-C is the connection between the tablet or smartphone and us. However, we will often have, depending on the device you have or the adapter you have, will be Ethernet. So you're that Ethernet dongle and USB-A's. So your
Oh, okay.
standard USB-A's that a keyboard will have or a mouse will have.
Okay, very good. Now, I know that in the tech world, which I've dallied in the past, there's always stuff in the future, always things that are coming NDA that you can't talk about. But I'm wondering,
Mhm.
is there something you can talk about that's coming in the future that we should be aware of?
Actually, yes. Something that we're going to be showing off at one of our partners' booths. It's what we're calling the 4x15 IQ charging station or charging dock. So this was a question that we got when presenting the Lithium-IQ. Someone turned around and said, well, look, we're doing this system for nursing for hospital staff, primarily nurses, where we would like them to be able to charge their devices overnight and then during the day be able to walk around, do their rounds, do their jobs using these devices. Because obviously a lot of hospitals are going now towards digitalized systems. One of the big problems, though, that we realize is that the hospital doesn't have all that much funding. Therefore, how can we make some of these devices last as physically long as possible, or at least prevent the nurse having to go down the whole hallway, grab a new device, go back to the patient? Obviously, this takes time. It's an inconvenience for them, and they already have a million and one things that they have to do. Their job is stressful enough, and plus patient care. And when they heard about the Lithium-IQ, they said, how can we kind of have one port coming in? So we have one charging port, but this comes out to being able to charge 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 devices. So what we're going to be showing off at HIMSS is a 4-port charging station that actually has all of the Lithium-IQ hardware built in. So all this battery protection built in, but in a much more convenient packaging for someone who is trying to deploy multiple devices. So if you're a creator, you might have multiple tablets, phones that you use on a daily basis. Now you can kind of line them up, put them onto charge, and not have to think about removing them from the charger, or obviously any sort of kind of B2B application where similar things like that occur.
And that's coming out later on this year.
That's actually coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
So it's something that we've already started telling certain customers and certain people. And basically the physical unit will be shown off in about a week's time at a trade show.
Nice. Well, I mean, there's lots more I'm sure that you can't talk about, but for people who want to find out more about your current projects and current products and what's coming down the road, where should they go online to find out more about you?
Should search up Lavalink, LAVALINK.com. That is our general website. And from there, you can pick and choose whether the Lithium-IQ stuff is more interesting for you or applicable, or some of the simulcharge stuff.
Very good. Well, Rostyk, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
Well, the big thing is, make sure you don't plug in your devices at 100%. Give them a bit of a breather. This is just, it's good kind of electronics practices. And that way you can help manage your own devices. The best thing you could do is also slow charge them so you don't build up that heat. These are just things that you can do right off the bat at home without having to buy anything new, without having to really change what you do, just to give yourself a little bit more life out of your batteries, make them last longer.
Thanks to Rostyk for the chat. You can discover more about Lava Computer at lavalink.com and on Instagram at instagram.com/lavacomputer. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to more conversations and discover more about creators' insight on making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're welcome to send any and all feedback to john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.